Welcome to Twilla Talk, straight talk about your sexual health. Now, please welcome the smart, sensual, sexy, sassy, and vivacious Twilla.
Hi, we're going to talk to Carmen Overton today about giving our kids the keys to staying virgins. Come on, Carmen. Good to see you again. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Take a seat. So, what you been up to?
Well, we've been out on the street talking to kids and talking about the importance of waiting till you're married to have sex.
All right. So, you know, we hear all these statistics about what's going on in the world, that the kids are sexting. Is that what they call it now? Sexting.
Right.
And
they're out of control.
And they're out of control, and the STD rate is just phenomenal. But you tell me that some of those not quite true.
No. It's not true. All of that happens, and it is out there, and the kids are faced with it on a daily basis. Every time they turn on the TV, every time they turn on the radio, through all the media that they hear, they're faced with a lot of pressures.
Right.
But what the statistics are telling us is that the majority of our teenagers are not having sex. The majority of our teenagers are virgins. And so our goal is to keep it that way and to let them know that they really are in the majority, and that we need to help them to make those decisions. As parents, we need to be the ones responsible for helping them to stay that way.
Now, you're saying, I mean, because I've done my research too, and I'm thinking, where are you getting your numbers from? Because everything else just points to it being way out of control. So where do you get?
Well, it's out of control for sure. We definitely have pregnancy rates and STD rates in our teenagers. They're much higher than they should be. However, what's not reported, what's underreported for the most part, is that there are kids out there who are making good choices. Our teenagers are good kids, and a lot of the time they get a lot of flack for being wild and crazy and sexting and sending pictures and doing all of this stuff, but they're really good kids, and they're capable of making good choices as long as we help them to make those choices. When you know better, you do better.
Okay, now, you know, there are lots of parents out there saying, I tell my children, you know, not to have sex. I've done all I can do, short of putting a chastity belt on them, for those of us that still know what a chastity belt is. And still, they just feel at a loss. So what is it that you're telling them to do, or what kind of keys do you give them? Right.
Well, it's just
to be able to say no.
It's just like weight loss. I can tell you that you need to lose weight, but if you don't have the skills to do that, then what are you going to do with that information? Yeah, it's good information to not have sex when you're a teenager, and the kids know that there are consequences to that, but unless they have the skill sets in place to practice that, it's just like anything else. You have to practice something to get better at it, and you have to practice virginity. As funny as that may sound, you have to think about it ahead of time. When you're in the dating, when you're old enough to date, you need to know what's going on before you go on that date. You need to know what your boundaries are. You need to have thought it out in your mind. And this is what you need to talk about with your kids if you're a parent. You need to think about, help your kid to sort all of that out in their mind. You know, where are you comfortable with going? Are you comfortable with going to sit in the back of a movie theater where things can get hot and heavy and out of control way too fast? Are you comfortable with going over to your date's house with nobody else there? You need to think about those situations before you're in them, because kids are, you know, they're like the rest of us. When you're in the heat of the moment, then it's really easy to step over the line that you may have set for yourself.
So when you say you give them keys, as we discussed, what kind of, do you role play? Do you take them out and have a date? You know, you go on a date with them? It's like, because I can't see parents going on dates. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I'd rather not date than have my mom and dad in the back seat,
I'm never going to date ever if my mom and dad have to go. So what are you doing with them?
No, it's just about constant communication. You can't say one time, don't have sex. That's not okay in this house. You can't do it one time. It has to be a constant communication, and it has to be comfortable, and it's never an easy conversation to have with your kid, but it's a necessary conversation, and it just needs to be, you don't sit down and have a book of questions that you're going to go through and drill your kid. You just want to make it, you want to be a part of their life, just like you are with school or sports or whatever. When you're talking about their future goals, it just needs to be a part of their life. They need to understand that there are consequences to sex. Some of those are positive and some of those are negative. And when you're a teenager, there's not going to be any positive. You know, they need to understand sex is a natural, healthy thing, but that there's a time and a place for it, and it's not when you're a teenager that you're going to lose that ability to bond to your future spouse.
Now, you told me at one point, because we've talked before, you told me that you give them something. You give the guys something that's needy or clingy. Mm-hmm. I forgot what it was.
Oh, our tape. Yes, yeah.
And you tell them they have to take it off slowly.
Right.
Or
to break up slow.
Explain that.
Okay. Well, there's some really fascinating research that's just coming out now that's related to sex and the chemical release that happens in your brain, because your brain is your biggest sex organ, right? So every time you have physical contact with a person, when you establish physical relationship with another person, whether it be through sex or touching or whatever, that oxytocin, those chemicals are released in your brain, which chemically bonds you to that person. And teenagers need to understand that they're not just going out and having a hookup, that they're actually chemically bonding to that person. And the more that you do that, the less that ability to bond occurs. So to show our teens how that works, we take a piece of clear tape and we tape it around their arm, get it all nice and tight, tell them to roll up their sleeve and get the hair all in there. And then we say, okay, this is your girlfriend and you've had sex. Now you're going to break up with her. You have to do it nice and slow, which they, of course, cringe at the thought of having to unwrap the tape and pull it off. And then we hold it up and say, okay, she was a virgin before. She was pure and clear and, no scars, no emotional marking there. But now look at, she's got cologne, she's got some DNA, she's got some arm hair. And every time you do that, whether it be a boy or a girl, every time they bond with another person, that stickiness that tape originally had picks up more and more stuff and loses that ability to bond. And that's really literally what's happening inside a teen's brain. Every time they have a physical relationship with another person, they're losing that ability to bond one day with their future spouse. So they're actually, whether they don't realize it, but they're actually affecting the relationship they're gonna one day have if they choose to get married. They're making it harder on that relationship. They're gonna, and marriage is hard. It's a really hard thing to do. You have to work hard at it. And if you come in with that disadvantage, then you've got to work even that much harder to make it work.
So what happens when, say, you've had a teen in your group and they didn't stay abstinent, but after they have had sex and then they figure out everything you told them was true about the tape. It's like, oh my goodness, I've done it, and now I see what they mean, that it's really true. Right. Do you have another group? Did you send them to, or can they come back to the group and learn more ways to stay abstinent this time around? Right.
Absolutely, and if you're a parent, then and you know that your child's been sexually active, first of all, applauds for you for knowing that your child's been sexually active. But it's always good to come back and say, we're not perfect, nobody's perfect, but when you know better, you do better, and let's make it a clean start. And you can take a little Etch-a-Sketch, and you can shake the Etch-a-Sketch. You drew a picture that you maybe didn't like so much, but let's erase it and let's start new today, and let's have a new start. And you just start clean.
So, your group believes in, what are they calling it, second virginity now? It is
called secondary virginity. Yes, that is one of the catchphrases. Is secondary virginity.
Oh,
yes.
Secondary virginity. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a
born again virgin.
40-year-old virgin. Okay. Yeah. We know a lot of people that probably need to do that. Maybe 60-year-old virgins at that. So you allow them back in the group.
Oh, absolutely.
This group probably can be found throughout the country.
Yes. The abstinence movement is a national movement. There are groups all over the country. You can do a Google search and find one in any area.
And just look for abstinence groups. So it's not like one particular, like you go to the health department, is one particular, in your case it's New Horizons group that's actually running it, but other groups can be running it under different names.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just look under abstinence. Okay.
So we work in churches and we work in community groups. We go to where the teens are. They don't come to us. We always go to them.
Oh, they don't come to you?
They don't come to us.
Oh, okay. So you have to be invited to. Do you have to get the group together already and then invite you?
Usually. Well, we do a lot of work with health education. In schools. We go into health classes and work with one-on-one with teachers and administrators in schools to talk to kids. Nationwide, that's one of the things that's happening.
Would this be part of our children's curriculum in health class? Because that's a big debate.
Right.
What we teach our kids in school versus what we want to teach them at home and what we want somebody else to teach them.
Right. In our case, it is. It's a part of our state curriculum, and that is a state-by-state choice.
And this
depends
is
on the
Georgia state
legislator.
curriculum.
Right.
So
right.
California or New York or
Right.
someplace else might have a different view.
And just to point out, since Georgia's been doing abstinence education mandatory in their school systems, we've seen a significant drop in our teen pregnancy rates.
Oh,
so
very good.
We know it's working.
We know it's working.
We know it's working.
That's good.
Yes.
Well, Carmen, once again, it's always great to talk to
Yes.
you, and come back and see us anytime.
And remember, abstinence is not easy, but neither are you.
Okay. Say that again.
Abstinence is not easy, but neither are you.
Very good.
Yes.
Well worth waiting for.
That's right.
That's it.
Worth the wait.
All right, we'll be right back. Do you want to know how to stay fit and have fun doing it? I mean, really have fun doing it. Next time on Twilla.